I just want to show you today the setup that I took today that led to me and one of my students making close to $2,500 in profits today, and it was off of one trade. We didn't overtrade today. We waited for the perfect setup and we took it. And I just want to show you real quick. This was the screenshot he sent me from his account today. He made 21.19 on this trade. This is me talking to him earlier. He made 21.19 on this trade, and I made $249 on this trade. So we made close to 250. I risked around 350 on this trade. He put up close to, I think, $2,000 on this trade. Maybe he put up a little more because it said he made 84%. No, I think that was on his account total. I think we both made, maybe we made about 84%. Anyway, so this was the trade. So I started out the day. I ended up trading SPY because I was just following SPY today. I liked the way the movement was looking over QQQ, and I liked where the zones were at when I just liked what I was seeing today. Let me see QQQ. Let me see what QQQ was looking like and why. I want to explain why I didn't take the trade on QQQ. My computer's loading, but when the market opened, it did a gap up. Hold on a second. I need to get my phone mounted so I can do these videos a little better. Okay. I don't know. It kind of looks the same. For some reason, I was on SPY today. I was on SPY. I just felt more comfortable with the movement I was seeing on SPY. So when the market opened, it shot up, and I started seeing that it was in this overbought area right here. So I waited. I didn't immediately jump in because we didn't know. I set my pre-market high right here. I noticed that it had touched this zone right before the market opened. So this was the pre-market high, and it also, we had a pre-market low. Where was the pre-market low? The pre-market low was way down here. So let me zoom this out a little bit. The pre-market low was way down here. So we had a gap. The gap between the pre-market low and the pre-market high was right here. There was a big gap. We were on the upside of the gap. The day started out on the upside. So once it broke out of this, it looked like it was gonna be a bullish day. So someone told me to buy a call right here, but I didn't do it. And I should have, because I could have rode it up here and sold it. But what I did was, I like to wait. I don't like to jump in those trades, those early trades. I kind of like to wait it out and see what's gonna happen and see what the direction was and see where we find our resistance. So what I did was, instead of just jumping into the call and hoping it was just going to keep, but I mean, I really could have made a lot of money because my entry was supposed to be $5.99. It went up to it went up to 680 at the highest point. It went up to around 680. So I could have made money if I entered at $5.99 and rode it up, and I would have made, it would have went up almost, it appreciated almost $1.80. So I could have made money there, but I just didn't feel comfortable because I didn't want to be trading on the high side. I was trading yesterday down here. Well, where was I at yesterday? I think I was trading up here yesterday, but I knew we were on the high side. So I didn't like the fact that we were over the pre-market high, and I didn't want to be trading up here as far as hoping it was going to keep going up. So once I seen this wick right here, it started wicking right here. I figured that this was the new resistance. We had already broke out of pre-market highs. We broke up pretty sharp. So I figured this was the new resistance. So once I started seeing it wasn't breaking out of this zone, and it didn't want to quite hit 61, I figured this was a good. And then I also noticed that we were strongly in bought territory. Strong. It was strong. And the indicator was telling me, look, this shit is overbought. We're about to get some pullback. So immediately before I jumped into the trade, I made this zone right here. I made this zone because this zone was a realistic place between the pre-market low and the pre-market high. And it was also a good enough place where if I could get a put and it could go into this zone, I knew I could make good profit right here. So I drew this zone right around here. Before I got into the entry, I drew this zone. You see how I did it ahead? Because I was thinking ahead. I wasn't even thinking about this moment. I was thinking of, an hour into the trade, 30 minutes into the trade, we're going to get some downside. And like I said, the reason I knew this downside was going to happen was because it didn't break out of, it already broke out of the pre-market high. So we were in high territories, and then it didn't break out of this new high that it created. So there was nothing for it to do but go down. And then this was my confirmation. This was my confirmation. I didn't need this to make the decision, but this was my confirmation right here. And then once this candle didn't break, I knew I was in a good trade. And at one point we was up right here. He was up around 750. My guy put around 2,000 a trade. I put around 350. He was up around 750 at this point. I think I was up around 125, 150. And a part of me wanted to sell, and we probably should have sold, because what ended up happening was it went back up here. And then we could have sold. He could have took his 750. I could have took my 150. We'd have been up, $900 for the day. And then we could have got back in that put right here. But, and as you can see, this point, it was starting to create lower highs. So basically the direction that we were anticipating was right. So once it broke out of here was a good opportunity to get back in. But look, we were still in the trade. By this point, we had lost all our profit and it looked like we were about to get cracked, because I told myself if it broke out of here, we were in trouble. And I set my stop loss at right here at around, I said, if it breaks out of here and it goes to 601, I'm stopping myself out, because this breaking out of, it already broke out of pre-market high, and it already broke out of the new high, the new resistance. So I told myself, I put this line right here, and I said, this is my trouble zone. But then I said, down here is my profit zone. Now I noticed that, like I said, it caught resistance, and it never tested it again. So what that told me was we were gonna hit a downtrend. So like I said, we didn't take the sell right here because it didn't quite reach my zone. This was my zone I wanted to be in. This was cool. We were in profit, but I didn't want to sell too soon. I didn't want to be scared and miss out on this real opportunity that I knew was here, because I noticed there was a strong support in this area. You see how it kind of fizzled out and then it bounced up? There was a strong support here. So I drew this line, and then I drew places where I knew I better take my profit. So I remember it hit right here. And then this is when we started positioning ourselves to leave the trade. Once it hit right here, and eventually it started trending down. It went up, but it couldn't hold this level, and it just cracked down. So then once it hit here, we started positioning ourselves to leave. I told myself, I see this line, I'm out of here. And sure enough, as I was closing the trade, it kept dropping, and we literally caught the bottom. And that's how, we did it. That trade turned into almost a $2,500 trade. And we were in and out of this trade by like 8:30. We were literally out of this trade by almost before, what time does that say? By 8:20. So we spent less than an hour and a half in the market, and we were able to pull 2,500 out of it. And this was just simple support and resistance, watching my levels, knowing my entries, knowing my exit, knowing my stop loss, setting areas and setting zones where I know I need to make a reaction, instead of just looking at it and hoping it keeps dropping and praying. And even right here, this was an opportunity for profit, but it wasn't quite in my zone. So I stood confident in my trade, because basically every time I'm not confident in my trade and I don't hold them long enough, I regret it. So today I tried to hold them for the optimal time, and I ended up catching the bottom. And I know this isn't going to happen every day, but this is an example of just understanding where resistance is at, understanding where the pre-market low is, the pre-market high, and judging your entry based off of everything you see, and then getting confirmation. So this was an A+ setup today. We could have made more money, but there's always going to be another day. So yeah, that's what happened. That's how I did it today. So I'll be posting more of these videos soon. I hope you got something out of this.